Welcome to Helping Hands. This is the program where we celebrate the people and organisations across Australia who do amazing work to make the world a better place. Coming up today,
we did 130 odd quilts to the bushfire victims.
The second part of the Teapot Ladies Retreat.
The next generation are actually volunteering in higher numbers than even the previous one.
The panel discusses the benefits of paying it forward, and we invite you to connect at helpinghands.tv. Last week, we saw the first part of a women's weekend retreat organised by Robin Morris, known as the Teapot Weekend. It began over 20 years ago to give women the opportunity to have some me time. The weekend has grown, and the women who attend are paying the goodwill forward.
Teapot Ministries, I think the best way to describe it is an experience. Oh, a good weekend would be to see the women coming in on Friday night feeling tired and exhausted and just ready to go, and then watching them shine over the weekend.
I haven't been to one before, I've heard about them. Weekends like this are important because women, for a start, I think get a break from their everyday life and to just rejuvenate, get refreshed. I used to work over at a conference centre at Yarramundi. If I've got a skill or a gift that I can give to people or do for others, then I think I should be using it. I had that example in my own family, that you serve others, you do good for others and help others. This is my daughter Hannah. I just roped her in to give me a hand today because it's all voluntary and it's good that we think the same. So I'm going to put a bit of garlic aioli on the chicken ones. We're attempting to get a bit of a conveyor belt system going here, a factory line, and
that's not a real.
So we're just getting in the flow, I think, still. How that works.
We need to get a system going.
Do you want to mix it on
I
there?
think we need a template.
Today I could be out in the sun, I could be going shopping, could be doing all different kinds of things, but today I'm here because I actually see the value in investing time into other people's lives. Retreats like this, although they're short, they're actually quite impactful, especially for women who have an extremely busy lifestyle. I see the value in it because I think giving up your time to give to someone else is always valuable. My mum is definitely an example to me that she's doing this just out of the kindness of her heart, and it's impacting others, it's benefiting others, and I think that's the greatest reward. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
For this retreat, we're doing something a bit different. Our theme is about giving this weekend. So instead of us spending the week feeding them, we've actually done a picnic hamper box for everyone. So they'll all get a picnic hamper box and a bottle of drink, and then they can go somewhere quiet and sit and enjoy their lunch.
I come to weekends like this to get away from the craziness of working. I have two kids that have special needs, and sometimes mums just need a break with other mums where I can do things that I love, which is sewing. The fun of it is, I would say, creating things that I didn't think I could. I came to sewing many moons ago in high school and just doing basic things, and now I can make quilts for friends and family, and generally if someone gets married or has a baby, they get a quilt. I've got a digital machine, some of the ladies just have an analogue machine, and over here we've got a featherweight machine which is 1950s, so 70 odd years old. It's a beautiful machine, it's like a classic car. I would love to own one. It's got grunt, a 1950s machine. It's a strong workhorse. It's beautiful. And it also looks just stunning. Whereas these guys, they're all beige, they're all the same. We're coming to a craft, retreat weekend. I don't think it's mine's better than yours, mine's bigger than yours, mine's more expensive than yours. It's more coming together and, oh wow, look what yours does. It's more coming to the sisterhood of machines. And yeah, it's just a fun weekend, and I might get a chance to try it out. I really want to have a go, but we'll ask her later.
Don't go anywhere. There is more to come on Helping Hands.
We did 130 odd quilts to the bushfire victims. Charity Day is where we come together as a group of women and we make charity quilts. It evolved, it didn't just happen. We were originally looking at just having weekends when women could come and just stop and be blessed. Over the years, we have then wanted to share that blessing with others. So in our charity corner, we are putting together blocks. Now, if you don't know what a block is, pass me a finished block there. Our charity block for our quilts for next year is this one here, which is called a disappearing pinwheel number 5. So we are making these blocks. We are cutting the fabric, getting them sewn into this point, and then they will ultimately become this. That's a completed block. Karen's one of our charity ladies, works a lot each week on the quilts. She has been a great ambassador and distributing quilts during the bushfire time.
My husband and I were caught in the bushfire 2 years ago, and I was in a store buying a little heater, and there was a lady, and I overheard her conversation saying that she was living in a caravan and it was freezing. So as she came out of the store, I approached her and asked her, was she a fire victim? And she said yes. And I said, I've got some quilts, would you like some? And she said, oh, thank you. And my husband and I drove out the next day, and there were 3 families living out on this property. There was a mother and several children living in a tent. The husband was living in a container because his feet were too big and long for the tent, and then the other 2 families were living in a caravan. So I put the quilts out and they chose one each for each family, and I said no, there's one for every person, and they were just overwhelmed. On the Tuesday night there was a program on Cobargo, and there was a lady who was coordinating for all the fire victims. I gave her the residual quilts I had and said, would she like some more? And she said, I'd take whatever you can give. So each time I went down to the south coast, I would take big bags full of quilts that the girls had made, and they were just so grateful. We continue to do that to this day, helping other charities. This quilt is a typical charity quilt that we do. We use our scrap fabric. Sometimes we go and buy extra fabrics. And this one was actually put together by somebody else, but I then put the 3 layers together, the top, the wadding and the backing, and I'm just finishing it off. And we also put a label on each quilt showing that it's been made by Teapot Ministries. Each quilt has been made with lots of love.
We have a lot of gifts that the women get over the weekend, over the course of a weekend. They'll get a goodies bag when they arrive. They have little special treasures on their pillows at night. They'll get a special pin, and then every year they come, they get a new pin and a new pin and a new pin. Every one of our retreats is themed, so that we have had a different theme for every retreat, and we work into that theme. Because I've run the ministry for 20 years and we've been doing pins for at least 19 of that 20. I've got all the pins. One of the last things we do is a wrap up. We show each other what we've achieved and what we've done over the weekend. Then we all gather together for a group photo. People will display the quilts, the sewing, if they've done little things, a handbag, they'll hold up a handbag. And we're able to capture the essence of the weekend at the end.
There you are, Bruce.
Thank you.
A pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Are you ready, Bruce?
Oh, I don't know. Would you ever be ready for this?
Well, you've got to stand here like this. Come through, ladies, come through. Looking stunning then, Jenny, stunning.
If I send them home today or tomorrow, and they've got smiles on their faces, and they've revitalised, re-energised, then I've done my job.
Come through, ladies.
It's an experience.
Looking stunning.
That's the best way I can describe it.
If you are a helping hand or would like to see a helping hand from your local community featured on this program, visit our website and be in touch. We'd love to hear about the people and organisations across Australia who are making the world a better place.
It's wonderful to see how simply getting together with friends and working on a common goal can make a huge positive impact. To find out more about Robin Morris and the Teapot Weekend, visit our website and follow the links. Welcome back to Helping Hands. Are you familiar with the term "one good deed deserves another"? To unpack what it means to pay it forward and make a positive difference, Laura is joined in the studio by Colette Smart, Mark McCrindle and Raywin Elsgood.
Hi there, thank you so much for joining us. With me on the panel today we have social researcher Mark McCrindle, Raywin Elsgood, the Coordinator of Sports Chaplaincy New South Wales, and psychologist and teacher Colette Smart. Thank you all so much for being here.
Hello.
Raywin, I want to start with you on this one. You volunteer incredibly in your line of work and work with so many other volunteers as well. What are some of the benefits of doing that and why do you volunteer?
This is my favourite topic. Paying forward is probably what a chaplain calls home, because you love people so much and you love caring so much that you just want to lean into people's needs, if that makes sense. But you've got to listen long enough to hear what the needs are and not assume.
And in terms of what that brings to you personally in volunteering, why is it something that you want to give your time to?
My daughter had such a need at the time and I lent into the sports space because of a child. A mother always goes hunting for how to protect and help her child. Found sport. My skill set happened to fall into that space of helping people. The sport actually asked me to care for them when they found out my background. And I think what I love the most about expanding on that is the 170 odd chaplains that I get to work with in New South Wales all do that within local or elite sport.
From a psychological point of view, Colette, individually, how does it benefit us to be volunteers, to be contributors to community?
It's fascinating because there's research into the benefits of community service or volunteering, and we actually see an increase in empathy and we actually see improvements in your own well-being. And when we have increased empathy, we actually see stress levels decrease and we see even depression levels decrease because we're actually involved in other people's lives. Right. So we end up with these benefits to ourselves that are kind of something we didn't go seeking, but they end up happening for us.
Why is it that knowing something about somebody else, being in someone else's life, has a positive impact on us?
I think there's this power in volunteering that for some reason, when we actually end up working with people or interacting with people who on the surface look quite different to us, when we connect with them, we actually connect with our similarities in our humanity. And suddenly some of our own stuff, our own issues diminish. Not that we aren't important or what's happening to us isn't important, but we actually start to see life in perspective, I think.
Yeah, a bit more balanced perhaps. Yeah. And Mark, you and your team, you've done a lot of research into how Australians volunteer. How do we compare to other nations around the world in terms of that kind of contribution?
Very strongly. You know, Australia is really built on mateship. It's built on community mindedness. We even in our lexicon, we say, you know, do the fair go or put out the welcome mat. We talk about ourselves as the lucky country because no one is self-made. You know, it's by the help of others that we've all got by, and our suburbs, our neighbourhoods have really been the collection of others helping others out that has made that flow. And when there's disaster, Australians come together, and we're a nation that experiences lots of those disasters, and we see time and again people coming together, strangers either giving money, volunteering time, even taking on risks to help other people. We did some big analysis after the Asian tsunami nearly 2 decades ago when that hit, and we found that the average Australian gave 2.5 times what was given in Europe and what was given in America per head of population. It was incredible just comparing this global disaster and how Australians opened their wallets at such a time. We're a nation of need responders. So when the needs are there, Australians step forward. We don't have the same culture of philanthropy where we're giving big bucks, you know, or pre-planning it. But when there's a problem, Australians step forward, and they also volunteer when there's the need as well. So the giving and the volunteering have a strong pastime in Australia and remain very strong.
Is it a kind of two-way thing? Like the feeling of a lot of people may be that the volunteer is the one that gets the benefit because they're doing something positive with their time. But is there something that they also receive from the person who is actually getting the service, do you think, by giving their time, by giving their money?
Yeah, definitely. That's why Australians give when there is a need, because they get the benefit of feeling good with that. They know they've made a difference, they've had an impact, they've made a contribution. You know, and that's what drives Australians, is having an impact, is trying to make things better. We do have that positive mindedness in that sense. So people will often say, oh, my giving or my volunteering or my service here, it's actually selfish because I get more out of it than I give. And that's a common refrain that we hear.
Yeah, and what about in sports chaplaincy, Raewyn? If you're looking for organisations that need volunteer support, what do you think we need to be mindful of?
I would reframe it the other way and say to people, what is your heart and where is your family? Where are the people, your friends and your family? So that you actually go to something that means something to you to volunteer in. And usually we all know someone, you know, that has gone through a trauma, or that, you know, for Colette and I, it was our children playing sport. We've lent in as a mum. We were already there. So I would say, you know, what do you know? What have you experienced in your own family? And look at the organisations around that space.
Yeah. It's fascinating. There's research into where people have been through their own traumas. Many people, not everybody, but many people tend to then turn to others who have been through a similar trauma and actually walk alongside other people and volunteer or support in that way. And so, yeah, there is something to be said for whatever you've experienced. You actually do have something that you can offer other people.
And Mark, would you say that some organisations, some sectors, are you aware of any that need support right now?
Well, there's a lot. You know, our nation requires a lot of people there. We've got big coastlines, so there's surf lifesavers that over the last couple of years have fallen short on numbers. We've got the RFS or the bushfire brigades right around Australia, and a lot of bushland, and we know in drier times that's a challenge. They're short on volunteers. A lot of these organisations that rely on large numbers have really suffered because we all had lockdowns, we all had to find different things to do with our time, and getting those numbers back is a big thing. But what we've found, and I think it's encouraging, is that the next generation are actually volunteering in higher numbers than even the previous one. Now, they're doing it differently. They're not volunteering week in, week out like those that went before, which was a fantastic sacrifice, you know, that regular committed volunteering. But they are coming together for events or for one-offs or for fundraisers, or where there's a need, they'll come together for a particular cause. So I think the future is bright in that sense. Maybe if we can encourage them to, once they find their area, as Raelyn's saying, you know, to maybe commit and give a bit more of that regularity. That helps with the planning of services, but it's encouraging to see the next generation are making a contribution like those that went before.
Thank you all so much for bringing your thoughts today. And thank you so much for being with us as well.
If there's a topic that you'd like to see discussed on Helping Hands, visit our website and be in touch. We love talking about the things that make the world a better place.
What do you think of the comments from Mark, Colette and Raewyn? There is so much more to this topic that we couldn't possibly fit it all into one program. Continue the conversation with us online at helpinghands.tv. love sharing positive and good news stories of Aussies who make the world a better place, and to see the ongoing ripple effect when people pay it forward. Quite often, one good deed brings about another, and the benefits can be life-changing.
Let us know about the Helping Hands in your local community at helpinghands.tv. Send a photo or a short video and tell us about your local heroes in 25 words or less.
Thanks to Colette Smart, Mark McCrindle and Raywin Elsgood for joining Laura in the studio today, and thanks to you for being part of Helping Hands. There's so much that we do online, and we'd love to see you on our social channels. We'll be back next week, and I hope to see you then.